MRT is similar to HIIT in a lot of ways. So I see a lot of people that will do an MRT workout and then a HIIT workout and then an MRT workout and then a HIIT workout because they think I'm combining two things that are awesome for fat loss, so more fat is lost, which is not necessarily true because they're both anaerobic. So the thing with anaerobic workouts, especially ladies, a lot of times how you lift weights and then you may complain that you are retaining water. And then HIIT workouts also make a lot of ladies retain water. So a person that's doing back-to-back MRT, HIIT, and so on, and never breaking and never taking a lower to, medium level intensity day, you're like nonstop at your lactate threshold and never flushing it out. So even though you're doing massive fat burning exercises and workouts constantly, you don't feel like you're burning fat, or maybe you feel lean, but like the scale is like, making fun of you because you're retaining so much water. So maybe your jeans like won't fit because you're constantly working your legs. So what you want to do is maybe pick one, maybe put MRT in place of your HIIT so that you're doing an MRT workout and then maybe some kind of lower intensity or steady state type workout to help flush the lactic acid. So you don't want to keep adding to it. You want to give yourself most of these really high intensity workouts, you're needing like 48 to 72 hours in between workouts to fully recover. Because remember, the change happens when you recover, not during the workout. So give yourself enough time to actually heal from it. So 2 to 3 MRT workouts, plenty for everybody. You do not need more than that. You do not need to do MRT every day. If you are trying to lift, MRT doesn't necessarily count as lifting. You can do maybe a phase of MRT. Say you decide you want to do, you're short on time, you just want to do 2 or 3 MRTs per week, and that's it. That's all you have time for. Then that's fine. Space them out so that you're only doing those, but don't let it go on forever. You have to take breaks from a phase like that. So it would be no different than, I do endurance phases maybe twice a year, because doing the endurance phases actually helps me to lift heavier when I go back to the heavier phases. So you'll get a lot of benefits from doing the MRT phase, and you'll get some of the fat loss, but you'll start seeing diminishing returns if you don't stop after a while. So, usually 2 weeks, 4-week period or something like that you can go into a phase of that. I wouldn't do it probably more than 4 to 8 weeks, like 8 weeks being like a max amount of time to do an actual phase of MRT, because you need rest in there and you're going to start tearing yourself down. And even if you decide to do an 8-week phase, I would say like every 4th week, stop. So take a break. You know what I mean? So you do like 2 or 3 weeks, take a break from it, and then do another 2 to 3 weeks, and then move on to something else. Because what you'll find is it'll help you when you move into heavier lifting for your body to actually adapt from it and be able to build muscle. But if you keep going, it will actually begin to kill your muscle, which I wrote a blog about that, I think maybe last year, about my experience with that when, I got caught on the whole circuit train and, it was like, oh, fat loss galore, and I started just doing circuits all the time. And at first I was like, bring on the muscles, right? Because I thought that I was going to gain all this, like that I'd be like ripped like Jillian. And at first it was great. I did like 30-day shred, like 30 days, and it was great. And then I did it again and again and again. And it just started like each time the results were actually like getting like less. And all of a sudden I didn't even look like I had any muscle anymore. And I'll attach the link to that blog so that you can see. I have pictures and everything on there when it happens. So you don't want to get like completely absorbed on the circuit train. And that's with anything. It's just like with diets, you know, how we tend to think, and I know I'm going on a ramble here, we tend to think that because we went on the diet, that the diet worked. And it's not always that. It's what you did before. It's because your calories were here, you put them here, so you got a reaction. So a lot of times it's the same thing. You know, we'll be lifting really heavy, or, you know, in a hypertrophy phase where you're doing maybe the straight set training, or a strength phase where you're lifting really heavy for lower reps, and maybe you don't see that much happening, and then you'll switch to an MRT phase and you start seeing all this fat loss, and you're thinking that MRT is the magic pill, when actually it's because of what you were doing before. It's because you did this phase that now this phase works. But if you only stay in that phase, then you start to see diminishing returns on your results. So it's just something to think about. Another huge issue that I personally, and a lot of personal trainers that I work with, you know, with a lot of the Team EM2WL trainers, that we see is a lot of beginners are jumping into these really intense MRT or CrossFit type workouts, which, like I say, we love them both. You know, we do metabolic finishers and stuff like that with our workouts a lot, but they're jumping into these type of workouts without any strength base. That is a huge problem, because what's going to happen is if you're going to these super intense workouts and you don't have the strength to do the workouts, then you're going to hurt something. You are going to end up injured. Besides the fact that sometimes because you don't have the strength, you're not lifting heavy enough to get the metabolic benefits of a metabolic resistance training workout. So you need the strength. So remember, these are only in phases. You could do maybe 2 to 3 full body workouts per week and then 1 MRT. Or you can do 2 full body workouts and an MRT. And, you know, steady state cardio or something like that, if that's your deal, or you're feeling sore and you want to kind of release some of that water retention. But it's not a magic pill. So if you're not ready for the intensity, then don't do it. If you don't already have a base of strength, if you haven't done a program that's taught you how to squat or clean and press or do pull-ups or box jumps or whatever it is that your program has you doing, if you haven't already done those, then I wouldn't jump into an MRT program that's doing those, because you have to get the function of the movement down first before you can start doing it in a rapid fire type method. So go through a basic strength program, either hire a trainer, have someone to show you and check your form and make sure that you're doing these things right, because otherwise you're going to seriously injure yourself and not lose any fat, because once you're injured, then you can't work out and then you're just sitting around and you're not doing anything. So don't jump into high intensity workouts too soon, and don't ramp them up right away. Don't jump right in and start doing 3 days a week if you were like a couch potato last week.